The long-term success is about bringing in the rest of the world who would enjoy it for a beach and enjoy it for the learning to surf experience. Or in our case, because we've got a big lake, you can have people in the channels just bobbing up and down and enjoying the water, or you can turn the waves off and you have a big recreational lake as well.
Hi everyone, welcome to another executive interview where we bring you insights from leading entrepreneurs and innovators. Today, I'm thrilled to be joined by Aaron Trevis, the founder and CEO of Surflakes. Surflakes is revolutionizing the world of surfing and it is groundbreaking artificial wave technology. Aaron, thank you for joining me today.
Wonderful. Thank you, Rhythm, for hosting us.
Absolutely. Now, Aaron, to start our interview, can you give a brief history of Surflakes and how the idea of creating artificial surfing waves actually came about?
No, thank you. Well, we formed Surflakes Holdings in 2016, but prior to that, I had prototypes that I was working on, and I was inspired by skimming rocks with my children. And as dads often do, you pick up big boulders and throw them into the lake. And I saw these circular concentric waves coming out on the lake, and they look like perfect little waves. So I was inspired to think about what size rock, well, how would we make larger versions of that? And then eventually I got started tinkering in the backyard pool and on a friend's property, and it proved to be a worthy pursuit. It's something that worked. And so that's what took us into raising capital and developing a full-scale unit.
Amazing. That's wonderful to hear. Very fascinating indeed. And it's incredible how Surflakes has actually come about. Now, let's talk about the business side of things. So, Surflakes has developed two primary business models, licensing and ownership. So, can you actually explain how these models work and the potential revenue streams from each of these models?
Sure. So the technology we have is patented. We have 2 patents plus a range of trade secrets and processes. So we can license that out to developers who wish to build a facility, in their part of the world. So we've had a big response from the USA. 8 projects across Hawaii through to Tampa, Florida. So right across the southern parts of America. And they want to build a surf park with different amenity around there and accommodation, etc. And we would like to build and own some of those ourselves, and even joint venture with some projects as well. So it's a bit of a hybrid model, which is not unusual for people to do that. Topgolf does that type of thing. And so right now, our important next step is to get the first commercial one funded and in operation, so we can refine and improve, and then work from there to expand across the world.
Absolutely. That's a great explanation, Aaron. And it sounds like that both the models that you have, they offer substantial growth potential. Now, speaking of growth, let's delve into the technology behind Surflakes. So, Surflakes has proprietary technology and patents, like you mentioned. So, can you elaborate on the central wave device and how it actually differentiates from other wave pool technologies?
Yeah, so it's a core difference for us because we're the equivalent of 4 surf parks in one. So because we have the central device, it makes concentric swells. We then use different reef structures underneath the water to make different types of waves. So it means that we can have simultaneous variety. And that's really important because everybody has different abilities. It's a bit like a ski resort when you have different types of runs. So by having that all at the same time, you can bring a family or a group of friends or a corporation who have different abilities in their team, and some are just beginners and some are more advanced and some are really expert or pro level, and each of them can be enjoying the waves at the same time. So that's a key difference with the other technologies who have to run different sessions. The other part of that, because there are 8 main breaks and 4 different learner zones, it just means the numbers are elevated. We have up to 2,000 rides per hour being produced, which is in the order of 2 to 4 times the capacity of the competition, in some cases even more. So it means that there's a better chance for profitability because you can fit more people through and have either better pricing with a volume model or just same rates as the others but you can then have more profit as a result of it, particularly in the peak seasons. Like in many places, you have cold winters and hot summers, and so your summer period, when it's a water related facility, is absolutely essential. So to maximize that summer period is important, and so that's all good. And then in addition to that, all the surfers are telling us that our waves are much better and they're bigger than many of the others as well. So you've got a quality and quantity advantage.
Amazing. Well said, Aaron. That's truly innovative, and the technology that you have developed is very impressive. Now, considering the potential market opportunity for surfing, which is enormous, let's say 99.5% of the global population is yet to try it. So, can you tell us, how does Surf Lakes actually plan to tap into this vast market potential?
Yeah, it's interesting because most people don't live near the beach, near the waves. But if you look at just America as an example, different surveys say 180 million people have 2 billion beach visits per annum. So going to the beach is a bigger market than all of the national parks and other visitations put together. So there's a hunger for people to go and hang out at the beach, particularly in the summer months. So if we bring that to them, but curate it in a perfectly designed experience, and the waves are perfect and accessible and safe, and you can surf during the day and during the night, it's a pretty phenomenal opportunity. So that's, I guess, the bulk of our market are the people who are yet to surf, but want to enjoy the beach, want to learn to surf. So we'll get a great response from the early adopters, from the existing surfers who are frustrated with crowds and the inconsistency of the ocean and what have you. So the surfers are the early adopters. But then the long-term success is about bringing in the rest of the world who would enjoy it for a beach and enjoy it for the learning to surf experience. Or in our case, because we've got a big lake, you can have people in the channels just bobbing up and down and enjoying the water, or you can turn the waves off and you have a big recreational lake as well.
Absolutely, and that sounds like a very promising strategy, Aaron. Now, for our investors watching this interview, let's dive into the financials. So, can you tell us what are the key financial highlights and projected returns they should be aware of when considering investing in Surf Lakes?
Well, for us, there's the opportunity for the licensing revenue, which is one, but there's actually bigger value in the ownership as well. So it's more capital intensive, but each project, we have projections of 30% IRR for the projects, and 50% EBITDA type models, and they're running what we see as fairly conservative models with limited incremental spend around the perimeter. So we've run that conservative models because there's not a lot of comparisons that you can use directly. There's things that you can infer. But for us, that means if you look at each project, can produce either $1 million in licensing revenue, or $15 to $30 million in profit back for Surf Lakes. And in some cases, the projects are quite extensive, and you could see $1 billion valuation on some of these projects as a standalone. So what that means for the investors is that we're currently a growth stock. We're not yet profitable. We're getting to that stage of first commercial project. So really, you'd be buying into Surf Lakes as a growth opportunity. We're not spinning out cash or dividends yet, but it means that at a $120+ million valuation, we can see a multi-billion-dollar valuation for the company. And that's being affirmed by the conversations we're having around the place. So it's a good time to be investing because it's just before we get that launch of the first commercial one. After that, we expect to see rapid growth, and then obviously get into profitable status and generate, potential dividends.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and that's indeed very impressive, Aaron. Now, can you tell us what liquidity event is Surf Lakes aiming for, and what time frame, and in which market exactly?
So we're now a US-based company. So we've rolled up into Surf Lakes Global Inc., which is a Delaware corporation. So we can see the opportunity in America for a trade sale or a listing, most likely on the NASDAQ. So whilst we can't promise the timing of that, it would seem likely that once we have first commercial one open, we're on the path for that liquidity event or or also, either that or a listing. So that's really the path forward. What we can say, we have already had approaches from large investors who would like to buy in a majority way. So we're happy to entertain those conversations now, but it would need to be at a premium. So yeah, that's really the path. So it's either we're trading as per normal, there's a trade sale liquidity, or a listing.
Amazing. Thanks for that clarity. Now, finally, looking ahead, can you tell us what is your vision for Surf Flakes in the next decade, and how do you plan to actually maintain and enhance your position in the market?
So yeah, we need to roll out commercial projects. So in the next 10 years, we want to have at least 20 projects built. It'll start off with one in Australia initially, and then California and Austin, Texas, two advanced projects that could roll out. But then we could have multiple, manufacturing bases around the world, and it starts to multiply from there. So we see out of the 1,000 potential surf parks in the next 20 to 30 years that we could have at least 100, but conservatively we'd like to see 20 in the next 10 years open to the public, and that positions us very strongly. So our advantage in that space, in the total surf park market, is inherent in the design, the numbers of waves, the quality of the waves, the simultaneous variety. So once people see that in a public sense, it's very hard for the others to deliver a competitive option. And we are also working on a range of other innovations and improvements as well. And so whilst we can't share those, I think investors need to know that there's a lot going on in the background as well to maintain that advantage across different segments or sub-segments of the surf park space. So we're very, very bullish about the future. We've made a good start. Now we have to finish this next job, which is open the first commercial and roll on from there. So it'd be great to have people on board.
Absolutely, Aaron. Well said. And for those watching this interview, you have heard everything about Surf Flakes, and there's so much more to learn. And for that, please feel free to reach out to the team at Surf Flakes. You'll find the details at the side of the screen or in the description of this video. And Aaron, thank you so much for sharing your valuable insights. It's clear that Surf Flakes has a bright future ahead, and we wish you all the luck moving forward.